Alright folks, so what I'm going to be talking about here again today is the timing of things, the timing anomalies, right? Again, if you watch my other video on car timing, okay, as soon as I come out of my gated community onto the main street to turn onto the road, and there'd always be a car coming down the road, the exact moment as I get there, so I'd be forced, okay, literally forced to stop my car as they drive by, and it'd only be like one lone car that's driving down the road. I was literally forced to stop as it was coming because it came within a specific time, a range of, like I said, about roughly 4 seconds, which it then forced me to stop because of the timing. It was so precise. And again, like I said, it had to come like 10 seconds away, okay, or like 15 seconds away. I could have just pulled out in front of it, okay, or if it's just be passing me, I could still pull out right behind it and then go, but it never did that. It would always come precisely at the exact moment, right when I get there, to force me to stop. It's completely 100% impossible, okay, for these things to occur at a high statistical rate without there being some sort of a cause. There has to be some reason or some cause, something that's causing that to happen, to occur. Now, whether you want to say it's real people, your car's GPS, and they're timing it exactly to the moment, okay, whether that's happening or not, you want to say it's aliens, or it's some negative force in nature, or it's God, or it's Satan controlling people. It doesn't really matter what it is. So whether it's people doing it, whether it's not, is that the fact is it remains statistically, literally impossible for these occurrences to happen unless there's an underlying cause to it. There's something that's causing these statistical anomalies to keep occurring over and over and over again, because it can't happen, again, at that high of a statistical rate. And then so that's what I wanted to do today, is just go over a few numbers with you. People who are saying it doesn't matter, like you're just focusing on it too much, man. It's not true. So I'm going to actually go over some numbers with you on this. So for people who are saying, yeah, the timing of the lights, okay, the lights, timing the lights, and they're going to come at the same time because of the lights, okay, or people are saying you're picking out these things and it doesn't matter, okay, or that the statistical numbers, it doesn't matter how many cars are on the road. That's a lie. I'm going to go over some of those numbers with you right now to show you that it does matter. It absolutely 100% matters for a fact. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers and calculations you could work into coming up with your figures. Of course, the timing of the day, if it's 5 in the morning, 7, 8, 5 o'clock at night, rush hour, 10, those things are going to affect it somewhat. So I'm just going to go over some details and numbers to show you that it does matter. Okay, it absolutely, for a fact, matters. Okay? And so I'm going to go over some numbers with you right now, just some basic numbers on, the differences of where you live, like an average number of cars that drive by on that road a day. Is that does matter. People who are saying you're just paying attention too much, or the lights, the timing, these things, it doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. Okay, and I'll give you an example right now. So to show you that it does matter, okay, I'm going to show you a little drawing here. So, for instance, here's an example. Let's say you live out in the middle of nowhere, okay, in the fields of Arkansas, okay, and you live on some little ranch, okay, or whatever, and here's your hill, okay, and you and you live on top of this hill right here, okay. Let's say it's a little hill, and here's your house, okay, blah blah blah, and let's say you're on the top of a hill. Okay, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's hardly any cars around. There's hardly any houses. You live on acres, okay, of land. Okay, and then let's say here's your driveway. Okay, so you got your driveway. Here's your car. Okay, whatever. And then let's say you have a long driveway that pulls out to your main road. So here's your driveway. Let's say this is your main road. Okay, that goes into the town or whatever. So we'll draw that. Okay, and then so here's the main road, let's say. Okay, and here's your car, your driveway, and then you have, let's say this driveway is pretty long. It's a long, windy road driveway that goes out onto your main street. Let's say it's straight as an arrow. So let's say here's your house. You live on top of a hill out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, out in Arkansas in a big field. And you drive out, okay, every morning or in the afternoon. Let's say you don't work. This guy's retired. He doesn't work. Okay, so let's say he leaves, 7 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 10. 11 at night. The time he leaves is completely random, off schedule. Okay, and when he drives out to this main road, he turns onto this main road. Let's say it goes a mile that way and a mile this way. It's just straight as an arrow. You can see completely down that way, you can see completely down the other way. And now let's say majority of his days when he drives down, you know, he slowly turns and he doesn't stop, he just turns right onto the road and goes because no one's on the road. Okay? So we'll turn that off. So that's, let's say, what normally happens. Okay? So now let's say, okay, so let's clear that off. So now let's say that he starts driving down, and every time he starts noticing that there's a car, every time he starts to pull out onto that main road, all of a sudden there's a car driving by right here. And the car's like right here every time he goes to pull out. And let's say that happens for a couple of weeks, okay, a few weeks, and he starts going, that's kind of odd. I normally just pull out onto the road. Why is that happening? Why is that occurring all of a sudden out of nowhere? Did they build some new houses down the road, or what's going on, right? So let's say he starts noticing and he goes, you know what, I'm going to take an average now. I'm going to start counting the cars because he's retired, right? So he doesn't work, so he has nothing to do all day. And he's like, I'm going to start counting the cars that drive by the road for the rest of the day. And let's say one day, let's say he does this for a couple of weeks. Every single day he sits out there and gets a rough average. So he sits out there, say 7 in the morning till 10 at night. And he counts how many cars drive by. And let's say during that whole entire time, let's say 4 cars drive by randomly. And every day they come at different times. Sometimes they come at 7, sometimes 2 cars come before 10, or maybe 1 car comes in the afternoon, 2 at night. That they just keep coming at random. But over the 2 weeks, okay, that he counts, that an average number of cars that drive down this road a day is 4 cars. Okay, so from between the hours of 7 and 10, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., only 4 cars, okay, drive down that road. Okay? So that's not going to make a difference, right? That 4 cars, an average of only 4 cars ever even drive down this road from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's not going to make any difference at all. That's not going to make any difference. Of course it's going to make a difference. Okay? And that you can actually do a mathematical equation and you can get a rough estimate. And maybe you're not going to be able to get exactly pinpointed to a number, but you can get a rough estimate of the likeness of running into a car down here, okay, on the road. So these things do matter. And now, not only does the average number of cars matter, how many cars are on the road, okay, but the street. Just like my street, that the one I'm telling you about is at the gated community. When I pull out, it's just like this street. That's completely straight as an arrow. So you can see that way and you can see that way for like almost like a mile on end. So you can see the cars coming. So what I'm saying is, there's the first number you can say is that, well, there's people are saying it doesn't matter. Of course it matters. Just like it matters if you live on some little out in the middle of nowhere on a ranch or something, okay, in Arkansas. It matters. Of course it matters. If only 4 cars drive down the road between 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, that absolutely matters. Just like it matters that if you live on a road where 100 cars drive down your road, let's say not just in between 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but 100 cars drive down your road every minute. Let's say 100 cars every minute drive down your road. Okay? That means during the course of the day there's going to be tons of cars. So in that instance, there's almost probably always going to be a car blocking you, because there's so many cars driving down the road that there's the statistical average based on the number of cars driving down the road is going to obviously impact how many times this guy happens to run in a car down here. Okay? So there's your first answer there, okay? Well, we've just come to a conclusion already, is that it matters that the average number of cars driving down the road, okay, is going to have an impact. It's going to impact the likelihood of this guy running into a car down here. Okay? So we've come to that conclusion, okay? Again, so now we'll go back to this guy again, who he's counted that there's going to be, there's roughly about 4 cars on average that drive down the road. all day long from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. Okay? And now, like I said, just like in my instance, okay, just like when I leave my neighborhood and I turn out onto the straight road, is that when I calculated it too, that was roughly about 4 seconds. Okay, it was roughly about 4 seconds in distance, okay, in distance. Say, so the car's like right here. Say this, when the car's right here, now let's say that's the 4-second marker from where the car's at to right here, is that when he gets here, between that 4-second time span, is that car within a 4-second time span is too close to him to be able to pull out onto the road before that car gets there. So he's literally forced to stop, okay, and wait for the car because it's too close. He has to wait for it to drive by, okay, and then he can pull out after it. Okay, so now there's another number. So now we have the average number of cars. Now we have the rough estimate of in seconds in distance. Okay, how many seconds a car when it's driving down that road, because it has a whole long road. Okay, and out of all the seconds it drives down the road, it needs to be precisely within about 4 seconds of where his turnout is to force him to stop. Okay, so that's another factor. How many seconds in distance does a car need to be in to force this guy to stop? Okay, because remember if the car was 10 seconds, okay, in distance, let's say the car's back here, whatever, the car's back here at 10 seconds, he could still just pull out in front of it before it gets there, and then it's fine. And you could even say, and that would still, for there to be only 4 cars that drive down the road from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., that would still be weird. That would still be a statistical anomaly itself. Even if the car was 10 or 15 seconds away, just the fact that it was that close and he actually even saw the car pull out, that's a statistical anomaly right there. Okay, so you could even, but even though that's still a freak occurrence at 10 seconds, he still has time to pull out in front of the car. So he can either pull out in front of it, and you could do it the vice versa. Let's say the car's just passing him when he gets there, and then he could just pull out behind the car, and again, it doesn't force him to stop. So those are again factors that you need to take. So those are factors that you need to take into consideration about it. So again, do a rough calculation. I'm going to go off randomly. So people are like, well, it matters when, let's say it's early in the morning at 7 and all 4 of the cars get to his house between 7 in the morning and 8 in the morning, and they all 4 drive by at that time. There's no cars for the rest of the day. Okay, that is important too, because that would again affect the rate of how often he's going to run to the car. So that would be another factor. That would be important information to know when calculating it. So again, people who are saying all these things don't matter, yeah, it does matter. Every little thing, all those are factors. Okay, but anyways, we're going to throw that part out. We're not going to get into that. We'll make it nice, simple, just a basic general idea to give you an idea of how it matters. Okay, and so let's say those 4 cars that they come at random times, like I said, so completely random. Sometimes they might come all in the morning or at night or spread out through the day, that they're completely random. So what do we have here? We have 4 cars that drive down this road randomly, okay, between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. And we have 4 cars that randomly drive down this road anytime between these hours, okay? And when they do drive down this road, it takes roughly about 4 seconds, okay, in distance, in a time frame which forces this person to stop their vehicle because it's too close. So that's what we're going to work off of to give a general idea of how all these things matter and the likeliness that this would occur. So again, we'll work on that to get the figures, the odds that would occur. Statistical anomaly is what you call it. It would be a low statistical rate of something like that occurring. So what we have here is that first let's calculate how many seconds, since we're doing the cars in distance in seconds, 4 seconds that it takes to force him to stop. So let's count how many seconds are in between 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So there's 60 seconds, okay, in a minute, okay, and there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, So that'd be 60 seconds times 60 minutes, which would equal 3,600 seconds. I'm writing sideways here, so sorry. 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. And you times that by how many hours? So how many hours is that? You got 5, 10, 15 hours. So now you times 3,600, that's 1 hour, seconds. Okay, and then you time that by 15 hours, which would be 54,000 seconds. So from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., that's 54,000 seconds. Okay, in seconds, okay, between that time. And again, there's 4 cars that drive down the road, average, and for those cars to force him to stop when he gets exactly to the edge of the road to turn onto the road, to force him to stop, that car has to be within 4 seconds, okay, in distance from him to force him to stop. Okay, so that would mean 4 seconds, okay, 4 seconds per car. So again, if we want to talk about in time, we're doing the cars in distance by 4 seconds. So we got the average, the time in seconds. So if each car, okay, takes about 4 seconds, is about 4 seconds in distance from him to force him to stop, okay, and there's 4 cars, so you do 4 cars times 4 seconds, which equals 16, okay, which equals 16 seconds. Out of all the total seconds of the day, that's an average. That's a rough average, give or take, of about roughly 16 seconds out of 54,000 seconds. That when he drives out here, out of all the seconds of the day, because remember it's randomly when he leaves and when they drive down the road, it's all random. Out of all the seconds of the day, that when he drives down here, there's only 16 seconds out of that day, give or take, that's going to force him to stop, which would be 16 divided by 54,000 seconds gives you, okay, look, 0.00029, okay? Hey, you're not even at 1% odds of that even happening, not even close. You're not even close to 1%. 1% is super small, and you're not even close to 1%, okay? You can round that up, whatever, 0.003. And so again, people who are saying that these things don't matter, how many, the average number of cars that drive down the road, and all these things, they don't matter, it doesn't matter, is that it does matter, and it's a fact, okay? It does matter. It absolutely matters, and this is a perfect example that shows you how it does matter. Okay, so remember that. So for instance, let's say that 50 cars drive down this road every hour. Okay, in comparison, just to show you how the numbers do change. Okay, so if you have 50 cars that drive down this road every hour, in this from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., that's 15 hours, so you have 50 cars times 15 hours. So that would be 750 cars a day. A huge difference. Okay, that matters. How many cars drive down the road matter, of course. Okay, so you have now from 4 cars that average drive down the road to now you have 50 cars an hour times 15 hours. You got 750 cars drive down the road a day. And again, 4 seconds in distance per car. Okay, so you do 750 times 4, which equals 3,000 seconds. Okay, out 3,000 seconds out of the 54,000 seconds of the day. So it's still going to be a low number. Now you do 3,000 divided by 54,000. Okay, it gives you 0.05555 whatever down the road, okay? Seconds, which gives you a little bit over 5% chance. So that does change your odds. And look at that, 50 cars an hour. Yeah, that's really not that many cars, that drive down that road, because an hour, that's a long time. So 50 cars, that's not too many cars, but it's a lot more than 4 cars, right? So as you see, the more cars or how many seconds that they drive down that road is gonna increase your chances of him running into a car, obviously. Okay, so that's obviously going to have an impact on him if he runs into a car or not. And the same thing, so if you go 100 cars, in an hour, or maybe there's 100 cars per minute. If you're on a busy highway on a main road and there's 100 cars a minute, okay, then you start saying that there's a car every time I pull out onto the road. Okay, well, if there's 100 cars that drive by every minute, you're bound to run into a car. Then that argument makes sense. Then if people want to say, well, there's a lot of cars on your road there, dude, then I would agree with you. I'd say, yes, you're absolutely right. You would then be right. You would be correct, and I'd agree with you. Okay? I would say that makes sense now. So what I'm saying is that these things do have an impact. Okay? All these things have an impact. And not only do they have an impact on it, but that you can actually at least get a general idea. Obviously, like I said, taking into lights, the average number of cars, what time the cars come, what time this guy works, okay, and he leaves every day at the same time. Those things all matter. I will agree. So if anyone wants to say that, then I'm telling you, yes, you can come up with an equation and and work on that. But I'm just giving you a general idea, and that's why I said it's random for him, it's random for the cars. Just giving you a rough general idea of just to show you that how you can use the numbers and how you can come up with at least some general rough idea of the odds of seeing a car, even not only just seeing a car, but one that's forcing you to stop, which is extremely odd. Okay, so all those things matter. So scratch this example for now, and we'll go back to my example when I'm leaving my gate. Okay, when I leave and I turn onto my street, maybe people might say that, oh, well, there's lights, the traffic lights, obviously the green lights, and that it's going to be timed up at the same time, so the cars are going to be leaving and going at the same time. Yeah, that is true, except pretend this house isn't here. This is my road. Okay, my house is like over here. I'm in a gated community. Okay, and I go outside the gated community on this route. Well, I don't have a light. Me leaving and coming out today has absolutely zero correlation whatsoever to the traffic lights. I don't have a traffic light. So whether I leave at 7, 8, 9, 10 in the morning or 10 at night, I'm leaving whenever from my house. There is no light. I'm not sitting at a light waiting. I can pull out anytime and go through this gate. So if the car's on the road, I am in absolutely zero correlation to their lights. If there was a light, and I was sitting at a light before I turned on the road and with them, then you could say, okay, the lights, they're causing it. Okay, then I would agree again, and I would say, sure, we can work on that and say that is true. But even in that case, even if there was lights, like even in this guy's case, let's say there's a light. Well, if only 4 cars drive down the road randomly throughout those times, even if there was a light, it'd still be odd. But what I am saying is that the lights do play traffic lights would play a role. So I'm agreeing with people if they say that. So, but again, remember, where I turn out on the street from the gated community, I don't have a light. There's no light for me. So I have zero correlation to their traffic light. So it has no significance, okay, or correlation for when I get here that the traffic light would have anything to do with the car being there, okay? When you go back to my car timing example, and when I did the numbers, and I'm saying how many cars come down the road, is that's what was happening to me. Every time I pull out, there's always a car there. Even just to see a car, if it was close, that would be random because there's not that many cars that drive down the road. Now, for it to be in a precise, exact position to be where it's going to force me to stop, okay, within that 4-second time span, okay, every single time, okay, and it's just one lone car driving down the road, okay, that's completely impossible. So that's what I am saying is that it can't happen. It's impossible. Impossible. You see? It's impossible. Not impossible to happen because it's happening, like people are saying, but it's impossible for it to happen without there being, right, some sort of underlying cause. So that's the more important part. Underlying cause. Okay, that we can correlate to this happening. So there's something that's causing that to happen. Now now we can at least conclude that it's impossible for it to happen without there being some sort of correlation, okay, of how that can happen. It can't just keep happening every time over and over, and that the number of cars, the timing of the cars, what time they leave, all is a factor into it, and that it actually does matter. It matters if you live out in the middle of nowhere on a little ranch and only 4 cars drive down your road, or if you live on the middle of PCH at the beach and you're on the main road and 100 cars drive by a minute. That's going to make a difference. Okay, obviously. And it's obviously going to make a difference if there's lights and all that too. So what I'm saying is that in my circumstance and in this guy's circumstance, it can't happen. It's impossible for that to happen without there being an underlying cause for something that's causing that to happen. Okay?